Mind. Welcome back to Raw 12:51 a.m. and welcome back to the Warwick F1 show. We had the Qatar Grand Prix over the weekend, won again by Max Verstappen, but a lot of talking points in and around the race. Obviously, it was a sprint weekend, had the sprint race, again, a really good, or at least for me, really good sprint race that I think has kept the trend going of good sprint races that we've had this season. We saw Oscar Piastri take his first technically win. I don't know whether we'll count it as a win, but he did cross the line first there as well. We got into the race, saw the two Mercedes collide at the start. We'll obviously discuss that incident, who was at fault, and discuss some not off-track sort of incidents, but stuff that happened in and around the race. Initially, we saw the FIA imposing tyre stint limits on tyres as a result of concerns over the impact of the curbing on the tyres, enabling them to, or perhaps allowing them to delaminate, come apart, causing a safety issue. So we had 18-lap tyre limits on all these sets, obviously mandating three-stop strategies in the end. And also, concerningly, at the end of the race, we saw a lot of the drivers struggling to get out of their cars. We had Logan Sargent retire because he was feeling ill, a number of drivers having to go to the medical centre after the end of the race. And yeah, we'll discuss that as well. And potentially the issues that has caused, which, I mean, it's fair to say, we weren't expecting that to be an issue this weekend, were we? No.
We expect Singapore normally being the toughest test of the year, but I think we have a new king quite comfortably after seeing the effects of this weekend of the toughest race of the season physically for the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of them are saying it's the hardest they've ever had, and it's quite scary when you see these people that are in peak physical condition. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently passing out in like the medical tent. Like Lance Stroll actually got out of his car and ran and almost collapsed into the ambulance. It's just, it shouldn't be happening. Yeah, it's just dangerous.
It was just never sort of seen it before. Yeah, in a way.
I mean, I've got a list here of basically all the stuff that happened. So, Valtteri Bottas complained it was torture. The race conditions. Lando was talking about drivers were on the verge of fainting, as we just mentioned. Pretty much as we saw in I'm not calling it the quarter on the Max Verstappen podcast, that Max was literally half dead on the floor, and Oscar Piastri literally just lying down in fatigue. Then Lando Norris obviously can't read numbers and sat in Oscar's seat by accident.
Well, he thought he should be.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, and then obviously we talked about Logan Sargent retiring because of illness, and Val said just go in, which for this reason he actually can't blame him for really retiring this time. Alonso, obviously Alonso asked for water to be chucked onto the seat for complaint for it to be too hot. And then the big one, Esteban Ocon, had an incident on that 15 that causes, let's just say, stuff happened. He threw up. But
and it is, as Will has said, it is just really unexpected to see, especially like Singapore every year is expected to be the most difficult race of the year. I think the drivers come into it with that mentality, and they do all sorts of things to perhaps prevent it, all sorts of ice baths, all sorts of cooling and things like that. Do you think that we maybe saw the issues that we had because nobody really seemed prepared to deal with the heat, and apparently it was the humidity that was so high that then ended up causing all these issues? Do you think that no one was prepared for it in a way?
It seems to be that way, but the thing is with the Qatar track, this thing's called the Lusail International Circuit. Obviously you got that whole humidity, the heat, obviously being in the desert. I know it's October time, but still early October. In that part of the world, it's still very hot at that time as well, even during the night. And then on top of the whole factor of the track itself being very physically demanding, with very high Gs for a very long a very high percentage of the circuit as well.
It's not even just that. It's the fact that because they were limited with tyres anyway, they had to push flat out.
Yeah.
There was no managing the tyre, kind of taking it a little bit easy. It was flat out the whole time in really hot conditions. And it's the first time we've seen a Middle East race that isn't in March or November, December.
Mm.
And I think this is probably the reason why. And thankfully, they're going there in late November, December next year.
Yeah, I think
which is a lot better.
Is it the second to last race next year before Abu Dhabi? And I think obviously that makes sense geographically as well. Them being the two races being in the same region. But yeah, I think I agree. Like, you look at the track, there's one corner at the track, probably the hairpin at turn 6, but I'm not 100%, that's below 100 kilometers an hour. The rest of them, or rest of the corners, are all high speed. Losail, built for mainly for racing motorbikes. I think MotoGP go there, at least used to go there. The corner's very built for that, very fast, very flowing, and as I completely agree, as with the tyres, which I'm sure we'll come on to in a bit, they were forced to push flat out. There was no limit there was no limit on fuel, there was no limit on sort of trying to manage stints, because the stints were in all essence being managed for them. And it was almost just like the perfect storm of difficulty, in that you've got a demanding track that is now flat out all the time in a climate that is quite inhospitable to demanding, like putting in that level of demand in October where it is still warm, with I think higher levels of humidity than we'd seen throughout the weekend. It just seemed like it was a perfect storm of issues, and that's perhaps why you saw so many drivers having like those health issues at the end of the race, as opposed to when we have seen some health issues before, it's been from maybe one or two, but it seemed like over half the grid has experienced at some point of another like fatigue, or even worse than that.
Yeah, it felt like every single driver had an issue at some point, mentally or physically, just due to the heat and exhaustion. And the fact you have a driver retiring because of something in the race, like they said, yes, he'd been ill earlier in the week, but it was completely unrelated. It was a separate illness. He had heat stroke, severe heat stroke, which just isn't what you want. Yeah,
and it is just it's just bad. It's just, you don't, like, these are 20 of the most, like, these are probably 20 of the, like, I get, when I say greatest, I mean like in the amount they can cope with, greatest athletes in the world who can drive cars at 150, 200 miles an hour for a few hours on end, round corners that are 5G, and to see them all struggle is just a big shock. Do you think F1 might learn something from this? Obviously, maybe with the scheduling, I know we're going to, or Qatar's moving to November, early December next year. But even for perhaps other races on the calendar and in the region, and especially if we bring it back to maybe the wider picture with like climate change and things like that, if other tracks, especially in the summer, are going to get really warm, then do you think the FIA has to learn from this, like, and maybe do something like the World Endurance Championship does, where they put a temperature sensor in the cockpit, and if it exceeds a certain temperature, you have to come in for the driver's safety? Do you think they might do something like that?
I don't think they will. I think it's something that seems very specific to a select few races. And based on the schedule, we've never had an issue in Brazil, so it's fine. All the Middle East tracks are now in better places, so Qatar's moved to later in the season.
They're all at night as well, which used to, I mean, the hottest ever race was what, Bahrain 05? I think it hit like 42.
Something silly like that.
Yeah.
The only other one that will concern me now for next year is Baku, which has moved to this sort of time in the year and is in, not necessarily as hot as the Middle East, but it's still going to be relatively warm, and it's going to be in the middle of the day on a street track that's bumpy, that we've had people like Lewis Hamilton suffer with medical stuff in the past. So I think they've got until next year to figure something out for it. But
Yeah,
I think it's something that is very track specific. It won't be a general, this rule sticks for all races. It'll be, for this event, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I've just looked at the Baku weather for today. It was like up to 27 degrees, and Baku is again a demanding track. Like, I mean, Chinmay, what do you think? Do you think there'll be any like changes, or is this maybe like obviously unfortunate one-off?
Hopefully it is one unfortunate one-off that we don't see much more of this issues, but like you said with Baku, one or two trucks are going to have an issue like that, and obviously you look at with the ever expanding calendar, there's not as much wiggle room around as well. And you got tracks, we just talked about the Middle Eastern races, needs to be kept at either at the extreme ends of the year at night time for the heat. You got races like Canada that has to be in the middle of June, which is why we have that sort of random jump in the middle of the European segment of the calendar. But yeah, it's a different one to tell, difficult one to tell, but maybe I'd say there may be slight changes coming in the future, but not in the near future.
Yeah. And it was good to see that all the drivers have obviously come out of it, hopefully with no, as far as we're aware, no long-lasting effects and consequences.
They've all been medically cleared.
Yeah, they've all been medically cleared. That was really good to see, especially when more and more stuff. You saw George Russell resting his hands on his wheel. Going down the main straight, the fact that they can do that is just insane. You're going 200 miles an hour, you're just like Sunday driving, it's like wrists on the wheel. But they've all been cleared, and that's very good to see. And we'll move on to arguably one of the reasons we did end up in this scenario, and that was with the tyres. So on Friday, the FIA and Pirelli started to notice that there were issues with I think it was the tyre wall separating from the rim. Something
like that.
Something like that. Basically, the tyres were becoming less structurally just stable.
Safe.
Yeah. And this is something we saw back in 2021, which is the other time we've been to Qatar. I think Valtteri Bottas had tyre issues. George Russell, when he was back in the Williams, I think one of the Alpines, I want to say, might have had it. And it seems to be to do with the curbs that are used round the track, and that they're sort of like pyramid curbs rather than being...
They are very sharp.
Yeah, they'll destroy any tyre that goes over it. So we ran Friday. We saw like a weird pre-practice before the sprint shootout because they changed the track limits to hopefully alleviate some of the issues. But we eventually were told, or the teams were told, that on Sunday the tyres would only be able to do 18 laps, and that was 18 laps like tyre life as a whole, as opposed to 18 laps during the race. So if you'd done 4 or 5 laps in quali or a sprint or whatever, then you could only do 13 or 12. I mean, when you saw that news, what were your first reactions?
Yeah, I thought it was like, as first thing, I was like, oh yeah, something is generally not right. And obviously we saw 2 years ago in the last Qatar race where there was, I think, 2 random tyre punctures that actually happened during that race as well. And it was like, I knew coming in that there was going to be a few issues with maybe 2 tyre punches. Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see when we do predictions about what I predicted that didn't come true. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it is just. I think it was just ironic that I think that Pirelli extended their contract this weekend or something like that as well to 2027.
Yeah.
Which is probably likely going to be the last one, considering the few incidents we've had in the last couple of years now. But
yeah, I think when I saw it, I was quite excited to see how the multi-pit stop would work, to see how that would change things. It kind of worked, I guess. But I don't like that it was limited the laps. It was just a bit like, it still felt very predictable in terms of this lap you have to pit, this lap you have to pit. We're all going to pit at roughly the same lap.
But then this is why I was a bit disappointed when I saw that they were mandating stints, and like it does make it predictable, but at the same time, what is the other option if you don't want if you want the tyres to stay
but it was really silly because they made all 3 tyres have the same max stint. What's the point? Unless they were all equally structurally unstable, which would then raise questions about why have you got different levels of tyres?
Yeah, and ultimately, I get it is obviously the safety concerns, and I think safety should be the main priority. But this goes back to Pirelli, and like you should be building a tyre that should be able to withstand these issues. We weren't even using the hardest compounds.
No,
it was the C1. It was the
C234, I think.
Was it 234?
If it was 1, 2, 3, then they're the hardest.
I think there's a C0.
There is now. Yeah.
I think it was we were using 1, 2, 3. So first off, learn from 2021, where we know what the tracks are that are most tyre hungry, essentially. Hungary is probably one of them. Silverstone, definitely.
Yep.
We've seen like so many years there have been sort of races where tyres have come into play. Canada, and then Qatar. Qatar was one in 2021 where we saw tyre blowouts from drivers, and there's no reason that was going to change this year. So why was it not almost predicted in a way?
I suppose obviously they fairly have come up with stronger constructing tyres that they claim to have before, so maybe hoping that wasn't going to be an issue. And I think there was only 2 years ago in Qatar, was there?
Yeah, it was 2021.
Yeah.
In 21, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It might just could have just been a lapse of judgment. Maybe probably Pirelli were quite confident in the sort of construction of the tyres that they were going to last. Because I think was it Silverstone that they bought brand new tyres for better construction.
Tyres just for Silverstone.
Yeah, didn't they make the tyres stronger like halfway through the year as well?
They did a special one-off Silverstone ones, I think.
Why would you not do that for Qatar? Even though it's a track that has. It would be willing. You'd say they're all medium to high speed corners, maybe with the possible exception of the hairpin at turn 6. Yeah. But even that's a quick hairpin, relatively. Like, look at it. You know it's gonna be difficult. Maybe and do those because the Silverstone tyres, realistically, they worked. Saw no real tyre issues.
It was quite an interesting comment from Lewis Hamilton to say that he'd like those curbs in more places to help with the track limits, because he wants track limits completely gone because he likes to push them. And
he would Lewis never exceeded track limits during the race.
No, that race anyway. But those curbs, he said somewhere like Austria, turn 9 and 10 would be a really good place to have them. But then why not just have track limits and stick to them in the first place would be my argument. But if you're gonna have these sharper curbs, then you do need to start making tyres for them.
This is my thing, and this is why I was quite disappointed when I've said it, but this is why I was quite disappointed when we saw the limits. And it is, if you want the tyres to last, don't run on the curbs that will make the tyres not last. Like, this is why it always bugs me when drivers complain about track limits in like Austria in particular. It's like, if you don't want to have your lap deleted, don't run over the white line. Like, and obviously, I'm not a professional racing driver. It's a lot harder than I'd imagine it looks, and it already looks supremely difficult. But if you don't want to do it, then you do have a choice not to do it. Like, you can stay within the white lines, and obviously, I think track limits is another thing we'll come on to. But if you've got the curbs there that do punish a driver for running offline, and then almost take away that punishment by imposing stint limits, what stance are you trying to? You're just picking the middle option, which is probably the worst of all worlds. So either get normal curbs, just do the 5-second penalties, or accept that there is going to be maybe that risk if drivers do run onto the curbs, do push the tyres too long, then it is going to be it's a potential risk that then you might have a puncture, you might drop a number of positions. Like, I don't know, it's a difficult one that I don't really know where I stand on it at the moment.
The curves definitely need to be better, because ultimately you want to see the best cars push to the very limits, and the curbs are within track limits as long as you're not going both wheels over them. Your outside wheel should be on the curbs ultimately.
So do you think they have a car's width of normal curb?
What make them really? Yeah,
and then
I don't see why you
beyond that you've got.
I don't see why you couldn't do that.
That's not.
Well, you could have like curb on the actual corner, a bit of like artificial or concrete, and then the really sharp curbs.
Yeah.
But I guess, do they have fixed widths or are they slightly different widths?
I
think it's fixed. It's near enough.
Let's go back to what everyone said is like, just put grass on the outside of the
Or
curb.
gravel.
Or gravel. Well, isn't that what they do in like Zandvoort? There's like the weird glued gravel.
Yeah.
Where it's like
dangerous and it just. Well, they have to do it on the banking, don't they? Because it's otherwise it would just fall.
And it is just. Do you want you're trying to punish drivers for exceeding track limits, and obviously the current solution we've got is 5-second time penalty, but they're so arbitrary.
Hear me out. We would come Formula E and put walls around everything. That way, if you run wide, you're in a wall.
Can we keep engines?
Yes.
Cool.
Same cars, just keep like Monza as it is. Wall.
Yeah, it's amazing how there's no track. There's no track limits issues at Canada.
There are though. Sebastian Vettel literally lost a race because.
Yeah, that's just because he cut a corner. I thought that was a very dangerous re-entry. It wasn't really track limits.
Everything.
Yeah.
But there's no track limits on the outside of corners at Canada.
No.
Because if you exceed the limit,
you're in a wall.
You're in a wall.
Yeah.
Which is really dangerous in some places, but not in Canada. But if you had it in North, obviously you can't do that.
And that is.
And it is part of the spectacle. Like it is.
You can't just put a wall.
Circuits.
You can't put a wall on like Austria turn 9 and 10.
But just put some spikes or something. So if they run wide, they lose their tyres.
So what? Have we solved Formula 1 once again this week?
Yes.
Yes.
Drivers in danger. That's what we're doing.
Nah, I mean, what do you think?
Add spikes.
Yeah.
no. Yeah, no. It's either way. The problem. This is such a complicated issue. Either way, no matter which way you go, everyone's not going to be happy. Let's just be honest. We keep the current system that we have. Obviously, safety-wise, everyone's much more happy that way. But obviously, you got everyone. Oh, what's the point of track limits? Everyone's just going to exceed them. You're just going to enforce it in some way, one way or another. But then obviously, the spikes is a good deterrent. It's more fun for us, but obviously.
Does anyone know what the drivers were saying about the curbs? Because off the top of my head, I can't think that there were many.
Said much.
Yeah, there weren't actually that many complaints about the curbs potentially causing issues with the tyres. Everyone
wants Pirelli to be better.
Yeah, it wasn't accepting it, but everyone was like, we kind of get.
We choose to come here.
Punishment.
We know that this is here. It's part of the circuit.
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh my god, get rid of the Wall of Champions because I can't run wide there.
Yeah. I think potentially having maybe normal curbs for the inside, at least half a car's width, and then maybe so if you go run too wide, it's like France's or weird blue runoff, and then asphalt. It became red or something.
It was blue and then red.
Yeah.
It had different stopping abilities. It had different frictional coefficients.
Oh, God. Let's do sciencey for this.
No.
I don't know. It's silly. It was just not. I don't think it was dealt with very well.
It was dealt with very poorly.
Yeah.
It was like they were monitoring it. It's just make a decision, and then the sprint didn't help them in the slightest.
No.
We're trying to assess tyre life and stuff.
800 safety cars.
800. I counted 804.
Oh, sorry.
No, but we'll move on to the sprint in a second. We're just going to take a quick break now. Welcome back to the Warwick F1 show. As we said before the break, we are now going to dive into the actual racing that took place this weekend, starting off with the sprint race and I guess qualifying as well. I mean, I don't know. I like sprint weekends. I think I've been converted. They're quite fun.
It's just more F1 that you actually want to watch that isn't practice.
Yeah. And, you know, especially this weekend, the sprint Saturday was really good on both the shootout and the race.
I think that has also been the thing, is that the sprints weekends this year have actually been quite good.
Yeah.
What we've had, so we've had Austria with the whole sprint race, like wet, dry, strategic battle greatness thing. What were the other sprints? Belgium. There was the Oscar Piastri leads for 5 laps before.
Yeah, that was good.
In the wet weather.
Foreshadowing.
Is that it? Are we only on?
No, we've had 4 now, haven't we? No, we must have had 5. We
had
now. This issue last week. We couldn't remember what they were.
Yeah. So no, because we've got 2 left.
We forgot. What are the 2 that's left?
Hang on.
Next 2 weeks, Qatar and Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. What's the other?
What's the other one?
It was
Professional.
before Austria, wasn't it?
I think so. Here we go. Azerbaijan. Oh yeah, even Azerbaijan was alright.
No, it was dreadful because everyone was like, "Oh, this new format's washed."
Oh no, the sprint for Azerbaijan was
still
fine.
Washed because they made the bloody DRS zone too short.
No, but
yes.
The sprint for Azerbaijan.
Both were dreadful.
We had Russell and
They were
Verstappen.
dead.
We had a bit of
Yeah, because
argy-bargy
Russell
between
can't drive when wheel to people.
foreshadowing.
Yes.
Or when he's next to a wall, like we saw last week.
All right. 3 of the weekends are fine for the moment, but we have had 3 good sprint weekends. I think they've been decent so far. The sprint races one was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Piastri won. First win for Piastri.
Yep. Got a win before Lando.
Yeah. What do you think about Piastri? Is he having the best rookie weekend rookie season since Lewis back in 2007?
It's got to be one of them.
Probably it is one of them for sure, but
I mean, I can't think of any better.
Charles Leclerc's was quite impressive at Sauber. That first year, that Alfa or Sauber as it was at the time was dreadful.
Leclerc's up there, Verstappen I think is
Russell
up there as well.
Was quite impressive, quite dominant.
Yeah.
But again, these are all people that won both F2 and F3.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it shows that the feeder series really help in terms of sort of identifying the talent. And he's now won a race before Norris. I don't want to bully Norris because I think
do a little bit,
maybe a little, but I think if Verstappen wasn't as dominant this season, both McLarens would have victories.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Their development this season has been the best I've seen in the last 10, 15 years.
I hope they just do normal McLaren and just become useless.
Oh, no, they will. It's McLaren.
Next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big impact was the new wind tunnel they got as well. So they got it around this time they started bringing in the upgrades. But yeah it's just like... we've seen it for a couple of years and they've been absolutely rubbish in Bahrain and then sort of build up. But yeah, the scope of how quickly they've managed to improve that car. Yeah, and also I think there's also kudos to also Piastri. Obviously now he's now stepped up to the mark and now actually competing up there as well. Because obviously Piastri being a rookie, he took a few races to also get used to things and start building his confidence. And look where he is now. Definitely two solid drivers, solid car. It seemed to have a very solid leadership as well, with Andrea Stella doing absolutely leading the helm on that car development as well. So, things are looking good for McLaren, but obviously, probably end up with that car, with the slow car in the beginning of the year again.
I
But
think
we'll see.
if I had to pick a driver lineup from the grid, I would pick those at the moment, just because of the amount of potential it has
And they seem to get along with each other.
when they're not on the track.
Yeah. Even when they're on the track, there's not been that much.
They're not aggressive, no.
No.
Lando has a sense of entitlement,
Yeah.
which is starting to annoy a lot of people.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Lando. I really don't want to talk about Lando at the moment because I have opinions that I feel like I'll save for when he does something major.
Well, I did say last year about George Russell that he would never win a world championship, and then the next race he won a race, which was the week before Brazil.
Lando Norris win in Austin next week.
I'd be down for that. That'd be good.
Yeah, it will be an interesting race. The tyre, we've spoken about the tyres. The tyre strategy was interesting in that the softs, obviously, with the amount of safety cars that we had, the softs heated up quickly, overtook the mediums, and the mediums came back. I mean, it was just entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the soft. I mean, to be fair, the soft just died after 4 laps. But yeah, it was good to see at least having that sort of going back and forth between the drivers. Obviously, I believe that both Ferraris were on the softs. In terms of the top runners, both Ferraris,
Yes.
Alonso, Russell was on the soft. Because Hamilton was on the mediums.
Well, he was down in 12th at the start.
Yeah.
Hamilton, I want to say both Red Bulls and both McLarens were all mediums.
Yeah, all 4 of them.
And
were.
medium was clearly the better one to go for in the end. But at some points, it wasn't looking like maybe it was, especially with the restarts and the amount of restarts we had, because we had Lawson spinning into the gravel at the start, Logan Sargent. You had to get one Logan Sargent thing in throughout the weekend, spinning on his own. And then the final incident that we'll talk about, and then we'll take another quick break. The 3-way collision between Hülkenberg, Ocon, and Perez. And
Quite consequential.
crash. And it was consequential because it did mean Max Verstappen became a 3-time world champion. Apparently cursed to only win the title in odd and confusing ways.
Yeah, I think that just is what it is. I think, look at the incident. It was probably it was a racing incident, 3-way.
Yeah.
If you were made to blame someone, maybe marginally Ocon, but
I don't think Ocon's expecting Perez to be on the inside of Hülkenberg, and with those mirrors aren't the greatest in the world. It was just sort of
get spotters like an IndyCar.
Yeah, it was just like 3-1 doesn't really go. Yeah, I mean, I just like the fact that they went off. Lewis just sailed through, and then he got past. To be fair,
was that in turn 1?
It was at turn 2.
Oh.
Well, I thought he didn't get to turn 2 during the race. No, but give what rating would you give the sprint out of 10? For me, solid 8.
Yeah, I'd give it like an 8, 8.5.
It was fun. It was fun.
Well, push it towards a 9, to be honest, because there was a lot of stuff that happened during that sprint.
And we should say congratulations to Max for winning his 3rd world title.
3 in a row.
Yes. Yeah. It's not. This isn't like a begrudging congratulations. It's just he's had it sewn up for about 5.
It's so it was the most. It's just the most anticlimactic win of a world championship in a long time.
Since like Spa, he's been like,
I think his dominance has been shown by the fact that we spoke about tyres before even mentioning he'd won the title.
Yeah, and it is just the level of dominance, and it's been an exceptional year for him, and obviously he'll hope it can continue into the next year or into 2024 as well. We're going to take another quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the race and then also make our predictions for the US Grand Prix in Austin. Back to the penultimate segment of the Warwick F1 show, and we are going to dive in to the race with our winners and spinners. We'll get a jingle up. We should make a jingle for this, for the winners and spinners. I think
I want to hear you sing it.
I don't want to sing a jingle. I can't think of one.
Please don't try.
No, I can't do this. I'll
outsource it.
I'll outsource a jingle to somewhere, to like Fiverr or something. No, winners and spinners. And I think it's fair to say we'll start with probably the biggest spinner of them all, both metaphorically and possibly quite literally, and that was Lewis Hamilton.
Yes.
This is going to be an unfortunate few minutes for me.
Oh, that's my favourite segment of the season.
I hate it so much.
It's a wonderful start he got.
It was.
And he threw it all away.
Oh.
No, the thing is, it's a shame because it would have been a really good race had he not crashed out.
Yeah.
It would have been nice. I can't let my hatred for Mercedes blind me. But Chinmay's message, because I was out at the American football in London. I just saw on my phone come up, the Mercs have crashed. I was I got really excited because I was like, oh, nice, both are out. My prediction might come true, and Ferrari might catch up to Mercedes. But no, George Russell had a really good recovery drive.
Yeah, it was annoyingly Lewis's fault. It was Lewis's fault, but a racing incident.
No.
You don't...
No, it was Lewis's fault.
I think it was Lewis's fault as well.
I think...
It's one thing to go around the outside and have someone push you out. It's another thing to turn into someone. Lewis was definitely very aware that Max was on the inside.
But he may have been expecting George to pull out a little, judging by reports of what was apparently discussed before the race, in that Lewis would overtake George on lap 1 or lap 2 or lap 3, use his soft tyres, then pit really early because those soft tyres would degrade.
I don't see how that benefits George. Why would George agree to that?
But apparently they discussed it, so...
It discussed doesn't mean agreed, though.
Yeah, but that's George Russell. He chats far too much.
Oh, he does.
Like, at the point where everyone, I think, Lewis had said, oh, my teammates hit me, but that's classic heat of the moment. He instantly apologises, or he apologises after the race and says it was his fault. But George, this is probably on the TV director broadcasting all of George Russell's messages.
Yes.
But it did come across as a bit like, yeah, we get it now.
Shush.
Yeah, it was. What penalty would you have given if it's Lewis's fault? And obviously, you say it's not a racing incident. What penalty do you give?
If it's Lewis's fault.
It is Lewis's fault.
No, I meant more like as in if Lewis was still in the race. If it had been
okay. So everything happens, but are you giving a penalty? Are you, as a steward, giving a penalty for the next race? Because if
I would look at maybe penalty points.
You can't do penalty points without an actual penalty, though.
Then maybe like a 3 grid penalty, which is like the minimum. It's not going to affect him that much. But it's caused a big incident. But ultimately, he's the one that's out, so I'd probably...
Yeah.
It's one of those where he's kind of
helped the stewards out.
Yeah, he's
if they both been out, then I probably would have been like, okay, maybe like a 5.
Max was really close to being involved in that incident.
It's like Singapore vibes.
That Max Verstappen radio beef would have been truly legendary.
Oh, and Toto wasn't there.
Oh, the tables around the world. Tables
they
in Qatar.
breathed a sigh of relief.
No.
And those headphones.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a very unfortunate incident that really... Mercedes probably could have got a double podium. Probably. I'm not saying it would.
I think it would have been a really good 5-way battle
between the Mercs and the Williams, Mercs and the McLarens.
Yeah, and just Max.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because Lewis had actually had a really good few races. Like he'd been clearly better than George for the first time probably since they were teammates for a prolonged period of time anyway. And it kind of summed up their relationship though. It's like every time they have a fight, George seems to eventually be the one that ends up coming out looking better.
I am beginning to agree with the people that said if the Mercedes were in the title battle, then they would lose it.
Yes.
It's not like a Hamilton-Bottas situation anymore.
No.
If
George
they were in a
Russell was
battle
too
with Mercedes, I could see it. Because I still think Lewis just generally is a bit faster than
Yes,
George at the moment.
I would agree with that. I think if they have a championship winning car next year, I think Lewis. I think it would be similar to 2021, where Lewis is clearly better than Bottas, but Bottas is better than Perez comfortably.
But they'd have to deal with it they'd have to deal with it if they wanted any chance. Because Max Verstappen and Red Bull are like, we haven't seen, I'd say, that level of team driver synergy since Schumacher and Ferrari.
I think if you're Red Bull, you said to George, look, we will make Lewis retire if we make you the number 2 driver. If he wins it and you're the number 2
I think
driver,
if Lewis got 8, I think he would retire.
well, this is like my point.
Yeah.
Well, it might go back to 7 if Massa wins this lawsuit. That'd be so funny.
But then
If he breaks it.
then he goes back up to 8 when Lewis gets the 2021 one.
But it's different, though, I think, with those two. That's another discussion. But
Yeah.
I think the difference between 2021 and 2008 is that they could have actively abandoned that race.
Mm.
Because I think if you abandon Abu Dhabi, it does change.
It's weird. If you abandon Abu Dhabi, Matt still wins
Yeah.
on count back.
Yeah.
But then...
But if you abandon 2008, I think Massa wins.
But that's the only way Massa wins, apparently, because if you disqualify the Renaults, Lewis, he goes out further. If you disqualify the Renaults for the next 3 races, so assuming they find out after the race and disqualify them for like
I
the
think
next
you'd have
few,
to make
then
the whole race null and void because the crash then led to all the pit stops, which led to Massa's retirement.
Well,
That's again.
That again, an issue for another time, and an issue that people with law degrees will have to argue in Paris or Brazil or somewhere.
Yeah,
Right.
somewhere.
A winner to counteract a spinner. I'd say even George Russell, maybe.
Yeah.
Coming back from last on the grid
Yeah.
to 4th.
Infinitely helped by everyone having to make a lot of pit stops.
True, but
He still had a very good drive.
yeah, you've
The
got to
Merc
make
had
those
good
overtakes.
pace. He didn't make any mistakes. Looked really good, really comfortable.
Yeah, did well when he wasn't complaining on the radio.
Yeah.
He does. They all complain too much.
They're so entitled.
I know, right? No, it's fine. And I get it. While I find it annoying, I get why drivers complain on the radio. It's just it's high adrenaline scenarios.
Oh, yeah, you're always angry.
And they are like some of the most competitive people on the planet.
Yeah.
Right. Chinmay, have you got a winner or a spinner?
McLaren.
McLaren. I'm assuming winner.
Yes. And obviously with the emphasis on Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
Piastri, definitely. He's my driver of the weekend.
Oh,
By
comfortably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was 7th in the main qual on Friday, but that's because track
6th,
limit.
wasn't
Huh?
6th, wasn't it? I thought it was 6th.
6th or 7th?
I think it was 6th, but even the way he dealt with being told during the interview was just
so funny.
Yeah, but it was really. This
really
is
mature.
his first season in F1,
It was so
and he's
mature.
dealing with that
So,
in that
okay.
like that.
His caption was amazing though of his Instagram post. It was like 1st, 2nd, and 6th.
Yeah.
He's just so likable.
He is.
Like, I don't think I've seen a Piastri hater.
I honestly think he's more likable than Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or like peak Daniel Ricciardo as well.
he's a different sort of likability. I'd say he's
Yeah.
like a happy version of Kimmy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is probably why I like him.
Yeah.
he just seems nice as well.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't doubt that he'd be willing to get his elbows out at some point, and
Oh, no, he
I'm sure he
definitely
will next year.
No, he has before as well. It's like
Yeah.
And then Lewis took him out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we don't meant. He's made a few too many mistakes this year. Some of them
You recently.
he gets
Yeah.
away with some.
Yeah, but coming back on Piastri, we're looking at a sprint, obviously a sprint pole, a sprint win as well, and obviously 2nd place in the main race.
Well, a number of podiums now.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Japan was his first podium of the season now.
Yeah.
Probably most
First
podiums.
main race.
Most podiums in a rookie season since Lewis, probably.
Yeah, because K-Mag had 1.
Yeah.
His only ever podium.
His first ever race. Only ever podium.
Because Danny Rick wasn't a rookie when he went to Red Bull.
Danny Rick was at HRT, and if HRT ever scored a podium, I think the sky would have collapsed.
I can't think of anyone else.
No.
Hulkenberg should have.
He got a pole in Brazil in his rookie, but that Williams I don't think was an especially good car.
Right, he should have got a podium in that race.
No, that was 2012 you're thinking of.
Yeah.
When,
Yeah, ignore me.
no, Hulkenberg. You know what? Hulkenberg for a winner, actually. Very good performances. Got unlucky in the sprint, qualified well. Then the Haas did its traditional collapse in the race, but again, by far and away better than Kevin Magnussen this season, and showing that Haas did make the correct decision to replace Schumacher. As much as maybe some of us don't like it.
Yeah. I've got a rogue spinner.
All right.
Kind of off the back of your account. Lando Norris. Main qualifying, couldn't get a lap put together. You knew you had to and you still went out of track limits.
Yeah.
And in sprint quali, pressure put on by your rookie teammate, and you fluff it at the last corner. Got to put a lap together when it matters the most, and he didn't either time. Then was clearly disappointed that he couldn't beat his teammate, but again, didn't have the pace. And then was complaining during the race that, like, he wasn't being... But he's got complaining for no reason. Like, it just wasn't... By his standards, it was a poor weekend.
But still third and third. Like...
Yeah, it's more of the qualifying aspect I'm looking at it. Like, when people were saying, oh, you've still not won a race, and your teammate goes and wins his first sprint, and you're... Well, like, but basically faulting.
I don't know. I'd say Lando is probably a bit of a... I'd say
it's probably a bit too high.
I don't think it's a spinner or a winner. I think it's one of those neutral ones.
I think the only real big spinner here is Aston Martin and cough, one of the drivers.
Well, not even one of them. Alonso had a bit of a...
I think Aston Martin's just fallen off.
No, they have. And
I think, honestly speaking, because Alonso still got sixth in the main race, and
really?
Yeah, he got sixth in the main race, and in the sprint he was eighth. And he was on the softs. And he was on the softs then as well, so...
and then Lance Stroll. Don't push your trainer.
And throw your steering wheel.
And then swear in your interview.
Yeah. Although that was funny.
It was, admittedly. But don't do it. You're not meant to do it.
No.
It's very Kimmy-esque.
I could see him leaving the sport.
Just purely because of social media.
No, I think he'd go to WEC. Because the... Valkyrie AMR Pro, which I'm so unbelievably happy about because that is such an awesome car.
It's
like I could see him driving for them in 2025 in their like World Endurance Championship.
The other thing I could see is Dad just buying like Andretti or something in IndyCar. Not Andretti obviously, but someone in IndyCar and just getting him a seat there.
Or he goes to play tennis, apparently, which was a rumour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did take off that rumour quite quickly, but...
Yeah. He might do better at that.
No, Lance Stroll definitely a spinner. Carlos Sainz, a spinner, but not really his fault.
No.
Like, what? It was like a fuel flow issue.
It was a fuel issue.
But it was like an hour before the start of the race.
Yeah.
It's a weird one.
Monaco flashbacks.
But at least Monaco could be explained by the fact Charles Leclerc had punted a wall the day before.
That seems about right.
Ferrari in general, I think, spinner.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is,
they
weren't Ferrari-esque.
They had an absolute golden opportunity to eat into Mercedes.
But they didn't have the setup.
But the car wasn't. The car just doesn't suit.
But they still had a golden opportunity to do it. And
well, no, you say that.
Leclerc
Mercedes actually had a golden opportunity to pull away.
Well, yeah, but we've already said Mercedes were
but
at least one of the drivers.
Yeah, I would say
they started the race, a car down on a track they weren't expecting to do well at, and they came away with fifth in the race with Leclerc.
Yes,
but he also got a 5-second penalty in the sprint.
Yes, that is.
Didn't he exceed track limits 5 times on like the final lap or something?
Something.
Like 4 times.
Yeah.
Their soft tyres had actually become like ice by that point. That move by Lewis on Sainz though.
Oh, it was very nice.
That was a nice dummy.
It was very nice.
If I just ignore Sunday, Lewis Hamilton had a great weekend and Saturday morning, but that's also fine.
Yeah.
Who else? Alfa Romeo, dark horse
A
for
little bit of a bounce back.
they. What were they like? 7th and 9th in the end, or 10th?
I don't know. I know they got points.
Joe got 1
They
point.
got 6 points. Then.
Let me get the results up quickly. But yeah, they did well, and it was not like you weren't thinking Alfa Romeo were going to be the car that were going to sort of climb up in the absence of. I think it was because we lost quite a few of the front runners.
Not just that. It's it's the sort of track Valtteri Bottas historically does well at.
Yeah.
One with like no grip.
Oh, they were 8th and 9th. They got 6 points out of that.
Yeah.
That's decent.
It's for them. It's their best race of the year by far.
Ooh, is it?
I think they doubled their points.
Oh yeah, then definitely.
I think
Yeah.
they did anyway. But
like 8th and 9th, obviously that is helped by, I think, Sergio
Ferrari.
Perez. How many penalties did Perez get? Like
3.
Something like that.
spinner.
Yeah. Big
Yes.
spinner.
What's that? Because wasn't it 4? It's 4. It's 4. It was 4 for a penalty, and then like another 4, wasn't it? Or was it like 4 and then each one after would get you a penalty?
The 4th one gets you a penalty.
Yeah, but then what
Yeah,
about like
because that
2
gives you a warning.
penalties?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah. Either way, you've got an opportunity. And the fact Lewis has come out of this weekend with a closer gap to second place in the championship is
Funny.
really bad on Perez's
What was
part.
Perez's last podium?
Japan. Didn't he get a podium last
No,
race?
it was Verstappen.
Oh no, he
and
retired, of
McLaren's.
course.
It was Red Bull's first retirement of the season.
Yeah, double retirement didn't stop Verstappen somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when was Perez's?
Monza?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, didn't get one in Zandvoort, didn't get one in Singapore.
Well, Monza was after Zandvoort.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because Zandvoort was somehow the first race back from...
Oh yeah, we complained about that too much.
Yeah, 'cause he beat... Remember, it was the Sainz, Perez, Leclerc battle.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Before that, when was it?
Well, now Christian Horner.
Belgium, okay.
Now Christian Horner started saying even that Perez
Yeah.
needs to start performing.
This game.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
I think he might last one more year in that Red Bull.
I think he'll last till like May.
May, you reckon?
I think May. I think his future at Red Bull depends entirely on other teams.
What
If
other?
they have
what other team?
If they have
And maybe Norris.
If they have competition, no, I think if there is a team, if Ferrari up their game, because they've actually made a car better throughout the season,
Yeah.
and they normally start quite well.
Mercedes have.
Mercedes are getting rid of all their design philosophies, so are becoming 2022 or 2020. Yeah, 2022
They're just
cars.
Mercedes have just been consistent,
Yeah.
like really consistent.
But if they have a realistic challenger, which we all want,
Yeah, please.
I don't think Perez last season in his current form.
Who do they replace him with though?
Danny Rick.
Yeah, maybe.
And then you promote Lawson. You should kick Perez out of F1.
I don't want to say Lawson had a spinner performance, but he didn't
Yeah, it
do
wasn't-
very
wasn't
well.
his
But
best.
then I'm going to be honest, this is kind of what I was expecting, like
The
the
whole
level
time.
I was expecting from Lawson. So the fact he's done so well for the last 3 races
Yeah.
is.
Well, I think he's kind of
vastly
lost his
outperforming.
motivation a little bit. Like, you've not
That's
got
a
to
good
see...
point. Where did he finish in the race in the end?
Oh, it's like 15th or something.
He was 17th. Yeah, he was the final finisher. Meh. It's just like, I don't think AlphaTauri did. Oh, Nico came 16th. Oh, nah, still a winner. Still a winner in my eyes.
Yeah. Also, shout out to another big winner, the McLaren pit crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For breaking the record, they actually beat a 1.80 second pit stop in these new regs. That's
That is
impressive.
insane.
They did not mess up a single pit stop that entire race.
It's not even that. It's the tyres have got heavier. They were
Yeah.
expecting pit stops to be
Like 3 seconds.
like slower, and it's taken less than 2 years to get to the level and then beat the level. 1.8 seconds to change 4 tyres. That's like almost Guido levels.
No one will ever hit that.
No, the
Start.
McLaren pit crew did well. I think just generally a very enjoyable race, enjoyable weekend. Or would you give the race out of 10? Just finish off.
I'll probably give it a 7 because I think from the pay attention, I think the whole tyre situation kind of mugged it off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we think of the mandatory
I like the idea
pit stops?
without
It was just
limiting laps.
poorly executed.
Like if you say you have to do 3 stops.
Did everyone run all 3 tyres
I
in
don't
the
think
end?
so.
No.
Well, it's probably only the soft runners that started on the softs would have run the
Yeah.
softs.
Apart from George Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a bit out of the
Loop.
loop a little bit after.
Well, he almost
colliding
got
with
caught
Lewis.
by Charles Leclerc in the end.
Did he?
Well, yeah, he kept falling back at the end.
Oh.
Not really sure why.
I'm always sceptical when they fall back at the end of. Is it just let's
Definitely
coast home and
fuel management.
Yeah, let's coast home and just make sure
I'm
the
dying. Just
parts
let
are,
me.
yeah, like all of the drivers were. I also think I'd probably give it a 7 as well, and I think that especially maybe it did tail off a bit towards the end, but I think that's because the drivers were just starting to survive
Yeah.
rather than actually try and. Although I guess Gasly and Perez and Stroll were having a bit of a tangle, but all the drivers I think were just at their end of what they could do, and hopefully it's something we never see happen again.
Yeah, I think a 7's about right.
Yeah, but one of the more interesting races, one of the more interesting Max Verstappen victories.
Yeah.
Although
Definitely.
he was just running Grand Slam as well.
Was it?
Yeah,
Was
apparently.
it?
Albon did 1 lap in the lead, but then pitted, which means he didn't technically
Finished
do
the
a lap
lap.
in the lead.
No, is there not someone that did a whole lap before him?
No, apparently not.
Did George Russell not lead a lap at some point?
I don't think so. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere Verstappen got a Grand Slam.
No, but then if Albon led,
No, but what happened
You have
is-
to start.
yeah.
You
But
have
no, but as long as you cross the line in first.
No, but he pitted. So whoever was in first pitted, Albon was in the lead, but then at the end of that lap, rather than crossing the line, Albon also went into the pits, so that doesn't technically count. Basically, they count it from whoever's leading when someone crosses the start-finish line. And I don't think the pit lane technically counts as the start-finish line.
No, but didn't he cross the line in first at some point
I don't
to start that lap?
actually, that's a good point. I don't know how it works.
I'm trying to find it.
It should be on the. I don't know.
It's normally like Wikipedia.
It's normally on
like a
Wikipedia.
whole-
We're just giving away all our sources. It's gone off the rails again. We're now just working out if it was a Grand Slam.
Oh dear.
Right. Well, while my colleagues currently do the investigation, we'll do our predictions for the US.
No, it was
Grand Prix.
a Grand Slam.
It was a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
To Wikipedia.
How many is that now?
Truly reliable.
This
source.
season? 3?
Too many.
Too many. It's been a long year of Max Verstappen dominance. But the McLarens were only 5 seconds behind.
It's getting closer.
true.
They might. I think they'll win before the end of the season. And I think if they were going to do it anywhere, it'd be Brazil, because that track always throws up a few surprises.
I think Ferrari might do well in Mexico.
The Mexican Grand Prix is so dull every year.
But Red Bull can't use that massive DRS rear wing help. I don't think they can. As well.
They'll just somehow put on more downforce than anyone else and still win by 30 seconds.
One stop again.
Yep. One-stop strategies in Mexico.
That was outrageous last year.
Yeah.
Mercedes threw that away, but
No.
They did throw away.
they didn't have to pit both of them. That's what
I think I've scrubbed that race from my mind. It was quite boring.
Yeah, no, I think it was they were way too conservative with the strategy.
Yeah.
That's
Because
yeah.
Max Verstappen went soft medium, the other two went medium hard.
That's right.
Yes.
Or something like
As far as
that.
I can remember. I'm trying to think. But no. Right, predictions for the Qatar Grand Prix. Unfortunately, as I was ill, I did not predict anything. But we still had a Will predicting.
We did.
And
I hope
Well,
now I've
Will
got to ask you who did well.
It was with the wheel for wheel substitute. So I predicted a double Ferrari and a Piastri podium, which did not go.
Did you
to
have
plan.
Verstappen?
I did.
Nice.
So I got 1 point because Piastri came second in the race. I predicted him third. Will got 4.
Do you have Norris?
I had Norris second.
Because Verstappen, Norris,
Second.
Hamilton.
Yeah, I put Hamilton third.
Mm,
I was
I
back
don't-
at Lewis for once.
Well, no, I feel like that was fair.
I felt I was being you.
Yeah.
Was it? It was. I've realised what it's called. It's called a snake draft. Apparently,
Yeah.
It's what we do with the.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I did not know that. I thought I just made it up. It seemed fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll go through my predictions. Max is not on pole for one of the sessions for my 1 pointer,
Yeah.
which obviously happened.
Yeah.
7 different teams scored points across the weekend.
I believe so. Because
Way more.
right, so you had Mercedes, McLaren,
Across the
Ferrari,
weekend.
Red Bull,
Williams, Alpha, Alpine. Did.
Yeah. So
Aston
yeah.
Yeah,
Martin did. That's
Ocon
8.
came 7th. Right,
Did
so in
Alpha
the,
Tauri get
in
it?
the race, we had Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Alpine, Alfa. You hit it in the race actually,
Yeah.
and then I think Williams got a point in the sprint.
Yeah, because Albon got
after
7th.
Leclerc got his penalty.
Albon got 7th. So
Mm.
Alpha Tauri and
Haas were the
Didn't
only
get a
teams
single.
that didn't get
That's quite
points.
sad.
That feels normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from that, I got 3 points because my 3-pointer was at least 2 tire punches in the weekend that wasn't from collisions, but the whole time, man, they got rid of all of it.
Yeah, they kind of ruined that one for you.
Yeah. So I got 4 points this weekend, which is
4
not
points.
great. I think
Okay.
that's my worst one yet.
4.
And then for Will, you said 13 drivers in the final session across the 2 qualies, the 2 SQ3 and Q3.
I believe that happened.
And that
I believe
happened
it was
quite-
exactly 13.
What,
I think it was
13
Different
different...
drivers getting Q3 or SQ3.
Let
Because
me-
you think in the first one, Perez and Sainz didn't.
I will check for integrity, of course.
And
And,
they
I
both
want
did.
these points.
Yeah. And there was someone else that got in as a shock. And
Right. The sprint shootout
yeah,
had Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, Russell, Sainz, Leclerc, Hulkenberg, Perez, Alonso and Ocon.
Yep.
yeah,
The qualifying had Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Alonso, Leclerc, Piastri, Gasly, Ocon, Bottas and Norris. So I think...
I think it was exactly 13, wasn't it? Because there had to be 3 different in my mind.
So out of the top 10 that were in the top 10... I'm so confused. So Nico, Sainz and Perez were in the top 10 for the sprint.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it had to
Yeah.
have been 13.
Yep, so that's the 1-pointer.
That was a 1-pointer.
It's kind
I
of.
could
It's
have
basically guaranteed.
I think you could have argued for 2 for that one.
That's fine. I
Yeah,
got
your
my
2 points,
points.
however, was there was a VSC or a safety car in both races.
Having never had one before.
Well, 4 of
Yeah,
them
guys.
overall.
Yeah. And then Ferrari overtook Mercedes in the constructors that weekend was the 3-pointer,
that didn't happen.
which didn't happen. So that means you came out the weekend with 7 points,
Yes, progress.
which means for the first time in a very, very, very long time, there is a shift in the leadership.
Yeah, the Wills are winning.
Will was winning by 1 point.
Yeah.
Oh.
Willpower.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good one actually. We're called Willpower now. I love that there's an IndyCar driver called Willpower. It's so cool.
It's the most American.
Such a cool name.
He's American, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
It's the most American.
It is really American. Actually, no, Stingray Rob is the most American name.
Stingray Rob.
Right, US Grand Prix in Austin. We're into the home stretch. I always feel like this is the home stretch of the season.
Once you get to
When we get to the Americas.
when you get out of when you get to
the
States,
evening
basically.
races into the start of the uni term.
When you don't have to question whether it's okay to have a drink at lights out. That's when you got to judge it.
Yeah, when I'm awake at lights
when
out.
I'm awake.
Oh, sometimes 2 o'clock's too early.
Oh my god.
It's Japan 6 o'clock start.
I was up.
I don't get how the Americans do it every week.
They said I spoke to a few of them actually yesterday. You know, they was like it's perfect. It's like 9 o'clock. for them.
Yeah,
if
no,
it's Europe, it's not that deep.
I watched Zandvoort in 2022 in a hotel room in New York.
Nice.
It was great. Just wake up, put the F1 on, go for breakfast once it's done.
Lovely.
US Grand Prix has always been fun.
It's Kimi's last race win.
Yeah. Never one that for me stands out, but it is one that's always kind of good.
Yeah. It's like an underdog.
It's never a banger, but it's always solid. I'm trying to think of some good one. 2021 with the Verstappen holding off Hamilton.
2018.
2018, Kimi's last win. 2015, Lewis wins his third world title, and then Nico throws a cap at him after some argy-bargy at turn 1. Other good...
Was it last year where George Russell just dive bombed Carlos?
Oh yeah, Russell dive bombing Sainz. Who won the race last year? Was it probably Verstappen?
Max.
It's always Verstappen.
It was Max.
Well, yeah, of course it was, because Ferrari didn't win after Austria.
Mm.
And
Oh yeah, it
Mercedes
wasn't
only
Perez.
won. Yeah, of course I forgot Perez existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one that's solid. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, good track. Oh, don't forget, this was, I think, arguably one of Max's best ever drives, 2021, when he held off Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
With much older medium tyres. But other than that, yeah, no,
That
decent track. The only minor thing is it should not be called Circuit of the Americas. It should be called Circuit of the World, because the amount of corners it nicks corners from.
Also, anything related to American sport is the World Series, so it has to be the World. Can't just be the Americas. That'd be silly.
They don't call the Super Bowl the World Series.
Yeah, you're world champions though.
Are you?
Yeah,
Ugh.
unfortunately.
I like. Was it? Oh, it was Noah Lyles.
Yes.
that had all the beef with the basketball
NBA.
players.
Yeah,
Because he was like the world champions. Who are we competing against?
and the only ones that defended it were the Americans. That all of like the
Everyone else was
European players like, yeah, you're right.
You've seen we're now just getting very off F1. We've seen Jokic has gone back to America and then instantly looks like he just doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
It's funny. Right, predictions. Chinmay,
My
you'll
turn
go
for-
first,
my
so
turn.
you can take Verstappen.
Yeah. Do I take Verstappen? You see, it's a difficult choice, this, because, it's... we never know now it's going to be Max Verstappen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. You know what? It's willpower now, so we'll have a debate. What do we reckon?
We're teaming up.
We're
Fair
teaming
enough.
up.
No,
After your
I'll take the
performance,
challenge.
I brought you into the
That's
fold.
brave after what I did when I stood in for Chinmay.
We've
Yeah, you
got-
sabotaged.
Yeah, exactly. Good sabotage. Well done. inside
So
agent.
I'll take it.
Do we take the tactical Chinmay tactic?
Are
Where
you,
you don't
tactical
pick-
second place?
Yes.
Who would be second then?
Who's strong?
Well, I'd say
Qatar?
Norris could be second.
Yeah.
Do we want to go like...
Piastri, Norris. And you got both McLarens.
Yeah, because he might grab Piastri for
He
third.
did that last week.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's go Piastri Norris.
Okay, I like it.
I think that's a good idea. 'Cause-
I was not going to take Piastri
oh,
anyway.
no.
Oh,
I was not
Well,
going
we
to take a
can't
McLaren
remember.
this weekend on the
you think double
podium.
Ferraris.
No, I'm
Learn from your mistake last
no,
week.
I'm gonna go for. I will grab a Merc and I will grab a Ferrari, because the thing is, Qatar has a fair few slow corners, and McLaren's weakness is slow corners.
This is true.
It won't McLaren won't like the
Yeah.
third sector,
Yeah.
We
They,
didn't bother
they
through.
did quite well in Silverstone.
but then
Yeah.
but then again, McLaren has actually improved their slow speed cornering, so
McLaren's
Yeah.
just improved.
Well,
full
Norris
stop.
did really well in Singapore.
very true.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not going to take Ferrari because
No, you should have told him.
I'm not going to take Ferrari because this is generally normally a high deck track.
It is normally... It's 2 stops normally, as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this will factor in. I already factored into my 3-pointer. Spoiler that.
Oh.
He's been planning.
No, I just thought of it in the last 5 minutes, but it's like, yeah. So I'll take Verstappen. Then I'm going to take Hamilton because he's going to be fuming.
He normally does quite well though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he likes He won the first ever race
Well,
at
the
the
first
track.
3 or something.
I'm going
didn't
to, yeah. And then I'm probably going to nick Russell.
You can take double Mercedes.
Yeah.
I have
Bold.
a proposition.
Oh.
Sergio Perez.
Yeah, we have actually left out Perez. I think he might come back at some point, maybe.
He's got to do well at some point.
Yeah.
So you can take Perez?
Yeah, we'll take Perez.
Fair enough.
This is the track last year, isn't it, where Alonso and Stroll had that massive crash as well. I just remembered.
Oh, yeah.
Alonso went flying.
And then still managed to get points somehow.
Yeah.
I think the FIA did some shenanigans.
And now
or
they're
something.
teammates.
Oh.
Yeah, the FIA kept trying to disqualify him. I can't remember why.
I think it was like like black and white, dangerous, and then they came back with like evidence that was like, no, that's FIA shenanigans. Right, 1 pointer.
Stroll doesn't make the points.
I was literally going to make a Stroll prediction.
God.
So I feel like we can't make a Stroll prediction.
Depends what it is. What was?
It was going to be Stroll doesn't make it out of Q1. But I feel like 2 predictions about Lance Stroll
Gives them too much attention.
it also might be bullying at this point.
It's fine.
Let's go for everyone does a 2+ stop strategy. No one tries
That's a brave one. I mean, yeah.
No one tries a 1 stop.
Okay.
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
Last year, I'm gonna have a look at pit stops
Everyone does a
did.
1 stop.
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah.
2020.
Also, what tyres are they taking this year?
Don't know.
Probably don't know. 2
Probably
stops
just-
are too dangerous.
Yeah.
What amount of stops did they do?
I mean, I can say what my 2-pointer is. It's a bit different.
What's your 2 points?
So my 2-pointer, I chose the number 7 because Kimi's number last race.
Yes.
A different top 7 order in both qualies because it's a sprint race as well this weekend.
Oh, it is. It is a sprint race.
I completely forgot about that.
So I'm going to say that.
Yes.
Oh, actually, I might make it top 8. Just
All
to
right,
make it a bit more.
last year,
Different
everyone. Last year, everyone did a 2-stop except Kevin Magnussen,
Who did a 1 stop?
who did a 1-stop. So I'd say that's a good 1-pointer.
No one does a 1-stopper.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's our 1-pointer.
Yeah, okay.
Sprint race prediction. I think we go for one of them.
Cool.
It's in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
A wet competitive session for 2 points.
In Texas.
Yeah, but it rains sometimes.
In Texas.
In
2015.
yeah.
It's either it's a hurricane mainly.
Yeah, so we won't race.
Yeah,
A session is abandoned.
the session is abandoned.
No, that's not.
Okay, let's not go for wet.
If you want to go with rain, that seems fair.
Okay, we'll go for a wet session.
During the sprint.
Should we say a wet competitive session
Yeah.
for 2 points?
Okay.
Because we can't just check the weather forecast. So when we see like a Cat 5 hurricane just barreling down on the circuit for the weekend,
Yes.
and just everything's
We're
cancelled.
celebrating what everyone else is in destruction.
Oh, that can we actually? A session is either wet or abandoned because of the wet
Yeah.
Yeah.
for 2 points.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Or-
like the terminology.
Let's open some more doors for points.
Yeah. And then my 3-pointer, I don't know now because we've already done a 1-stopper prediction, but I said 4+ drivers does a 3-stop race.
Ooh, no, I can see that as a 3-pointer. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
I'm the high judge here, of course.
The high
Of course.
The high judge. That's what I'm calling
Just because
myself.
you're tall.
Grand steward. 3-pointer.
What's the gap between Hamilton and Perez?
It's like 30 points, I
Oh.
think. What go like the gap between Hamilton and Perez gets below X points or something?
5.
Hang on, let me have a look at
But
what.
that would go against
Yeah,
our
but
podium
that
prediction
goes
of
against your
Yeah, but
predictions.
it's building cross bases.
Hmm.
They're right. The gap's currently exactly 30 points.
Whereas Alonso Hamilton is 11 points difference.
Oh, that's quite. Maybe Alonso overtakes Hamilton.
The Ferraris are
Wait,
separated.
Alonso's that close to Hamilton still.
He's 11 points behind Hamilton.
All right, how about this? McLaren don't overtake Aston Martin.
We have both McLaren drivers in our podium.
No, but that's my. Yeah,
okay.
Covering bases.
How far behind are they?
11.
11 points.
But
Yeah, calm.
it is a sprint race. And so there's more points on offer. And Aston Martin are terrible at the moment. So
And they have Lance Stroll.
it's unexpected.
3 points. Lance Stroll gets more than 5 points across the weekend.
That feels. You can't just keep bullying Lance Stroll.
No, I like your.
Yeah,
Aston.
3 points. McLaren don't overtake Aston Martin this weekend. That feels fair.
This is when they both have really bad races and they don't overtake, so we don't get the podium.
Yeah, we don't get everything. No, I think
I back Piastri.
I back Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri could win that race, and then we'd get extra points.
Oh yes. Oh, we get everything. I thought we'd said if we get everything right, then you get like 5 bonus points. You get 20 for the weekend.
Oh, what day?
I don't think that will ever happen. Seems if it did.
Yeah.
Right. Reminiscing. I think that's we've come to the end. Any final words?
No.
Yeah, fair. Good race.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week to do a non-race weekend
episode.
We don't call them. That makes them fun. You should listen to them because they're fun.
Yeah.
We'll think of an idea. We had an idea.
We've done a few fun ones.
We had an idea. What could we introduce from other series?
Yes. Could be tracks, could be rules, could be drivers.
Could be liveries.
Yes. Oh, I love that Indy how they all have their own individual livery. But it is just chaos.
It makes it really difficult to tell.
Look at the numbers.
They move quite quickly. It's
on
difficult.
the screen, it gives you the colour pattern.
Oh yeah.
The numbers.
Well, we can debate that next week when we do discuss
what we should.
As we all know, we do improve F1 on a weekly basis.
Yes.
So we're going to do it, but properly next week.
Yes.
No. But thank you to Chinmay and Will. I've been Will as well. We will be back next week once again to improve F1 like we normally do. And I think that's the thing we can take away from just this show in general, is that we're only helpful.
Yes.
And nice to all of the drivers.
Yep.
No one was harmed.
No one was harmed in the making of this episode.
Especially any Canadians. But
Right. Thank you for everyone for listening.